until I name them every month. I often forget to name them though. Say it again. Segway. Sandwich. Savory. Oh, gotcha. Savory, yes. We'll get to that later tonight. How are you, sir? You having a good time? Okay. Well, you know, have another drink at this delightful bar, and your time will get exponentially better. How many people are out tonight to have a good time? Make some noise. That's right. We're all here to have a good time. And who's gonna help you have a good time better than you? Who's gonna love you better than you? Huh? Nobody. That's right, yeah. Who's gonna love you better than you? Nobody. That's right. I said, who's gonna love you better than you? Nobody. That's right, yo. Who's gonna love you better than you? Yeah. I'd be like, yeah, who gonna love you better than you? And outside love better than self never been true. You couldn't do it. Gotta find the love within. Yeah. They say that love is a sin, but that's not true. Yeah, I've been loving with the saints. They was like Baxter. Love and anger, that's what it ain't. Sometimes love could change like a dollar when it break it makes change. Pardon me, I'm just getting ready, getting set up. They was like, yo, Baxter, knock it down, but then get up. They was like, I really like your get up. On the stage, watch them step up. This will be the poet, you know we gonna televise it. You gonna see some dope acts, don't be surprised when somebody comes up on stage and starts prophesizing. Then it's a good time you haven't, you just realized it. Open up your eyes, kid, yeah, you can see it. Baxter Wordsworth, in between the lines where I'm reading, they was like, damn, I could burn like a phoenix, a genius. Plus I'm coming back like I'm Jesus, yeah. Shout out to the band, they be killing it. Let me introduce them cause they real as shit. You can put your hands in the air if you feeling it. You can put your hands by your side if you kinda chillin' shit. But yeah, you know, on the roster, the one on the keys is Simona Costa. Yeah, you know she gonna freaking rock it, messing with the keys like a locksmith. They was like, okay, plus in the pace, you know we got Greek, he be strumming on the bass. You can feel it, yo, it's all up in your face. Please see if you're seated and up in the place. Wait a minute. And that ain't just that. Up in the back, you know where it's at. We got the ones on the percussion, his name is Snacks. Everything he do, it could never be whack now. Last but not least, I shouldn't say it. It's the one and only. Her name is Shake Savory. She's always in the place when we be in the place. Yeah, it's never basic. And for what it's worth, I should introduce myself, Baxter Wordsworth. I've been dope ever since the day of my birth. Until the day I return, back up in the dirt, they was like, yo, Baxter, you could come in first. Matter of fact, yo, make sure that you rehearse. I don't know, wait a minute, hold on. And that is just the power I exert. I'm looking at the light, trying to find the lines that connect them. They was like, yo, Baxter, it's an interception. They could feel it in their breath, yeah, it's so refreshing. Grab a microphone and started blessing. Coming to your rescue. Chilling on the bottom like a vestibule. All up in the attic, they be blessing who. They was like they see him and they got him. I'm like Bruce Wayne, late nights, running over Gotham. Baxter Words have been a problem. Plus, you do the math and that is how you solve it. I melt it down like it's a solvent. They was like, hold up, let's revolve it. Put your hands in the sky if you feel the vibe. This is the poet will be televised. Put your hands in the sky if you feel the vibe. This is the poet will be televised. Put your hands in the sky if you feeling the vibe. This is the poet will be televised. Put your hands by your side, you feeling the vibe. This is the poet will be televised. Break it down, break it down, break it down, break it down. Right now I like to call to the stage.
Hello. This is Dale Novella with the Poet Podcast on Sky's Crescent Radio. Welcome to the show. That was Baxter Wordsworth welcoming everyone to the Poet Will Be Televised. As you know, all of these clips are from our monthly jam session open mic at Silvana, which happens every second Wednesday of the month. It's called The Poet Will Be Televised. Dun, dun, dun. We have a great panel here today of lovely, smart, intelligent black people and our lovely engineer, Ms. Jade Zabert, which I'm probably going to ask her a couple questions while she's up here because we're featuring two of her songs. Yes.
Yeah.
And the first panelist I'm going to introduce is Miss Kendall-Lynn Walker, who is, who I know you from a few things. We have a couple friends in college.
I think he linked us first. Yeah.
And then I was at the Langston Hughes house one day, and I was like, I know her. Or maybe I just heard your name, and I was like, right. Kendall-Lynn, I met.
Yeah.
You actually helped book me at Sylvana.
Oh, yeah, and I think I met you after that.
Yeah.
Like, that's when you came to the house afterwards. Yeah, so it was good to meet you face to face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was, at this point, like 2 years ago.
Yeah,
so it's great to have you on the show.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
As I just said, you do a multitude of things. You also are a producer of R&B events in New York.
Yes, at Sylvana. Yeah, it's an artist showcase once a month on the third Thursday of every month, right? And it's a full band, kind of like the setup you guys have. Only it's pretty much, it's more or less singing. So it's singers every time. You've been on it, so thank you. But and then we do a radio show and Dumbo too under the same name with B-Box.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you also are involved with a Christian magazine called Wit and Grace, right?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, it's Wit and Grace, and it's targeted for women, but it's really for everybody. But I'm the music editor for that publication.
Awesome.
So,
How long have you been at that?
Probably they just celebrated their year anniversary on September 8th.
Cool.
So a little over a year.
That's a good date. That's my birthday.
Oh, well then there it is. Everything's aligned, right? That's perfect.
And what else do you have going on? Like coming up, do you have any special events? Anything special at the Langston Hughes House? You're the program director at the Langston Hughes House.
And we're really excited about that's a baby nonprofit. Well, just a baby project too, just like the publication. But we've been going with I2 Arts Collective about 2 years. We started in February 2017, and it's just really a nonprofit dedicated to the legacy of Langston Hughes. And we run it out of his house. So it's all things creative arts, So we have author events, there are poetry events. People rent this space to have their own creative arts events. We do community programming, which is an open mic, happy hours, different things like that. And then we sometimes do collaborations too, with just different organizations that bring programming that we want to, I guess, just keep our programming diverse, right? Like across the whole creative arts realm. So, those are the things that we do. But we've got a great December plan too. I mean, I could go on and on about the events there, but we won't. We only have an hour, so I'm not going to go there.
Cool. Well, how can people find out about everything that you're involved with? Like, do you want them to follow you on Instagram? Do you have a website? What's going on?
I just go back and forth with social media. I don't even know if that's the best thing. I'm just going to direct everybody to i2arts.com because our social media director for the nonprofit is fantastic. And she just keeps everybody up to date with our Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter accounts. So it's I2 Arts Collective. And the handle is I2 Arts on Instagram. But even if you just Google the Langston Hughes House or I2 Arts, based off of Langston's poem too, I Too Sing America, will come up. Yeah, so I'm just going to leave it there.
Awesome.
Not to be anti-social media, but I'm just old. Like sometimes it just go back. I wasn't raised this way.
Well, girl, you ain't had no Black Planet.
I did have Black Planet, but that was like that was the good old days.
I think I'm the only brother that didn't have Black Planet.
Oh, I totally had, but that was when it was just good and new and fresh.
Yeah, that's
for
true.
Me, my experience.
It wasn't too intrusive,
right? It wasn't. It wasn't.
It was more about like adding glitter to your page or whatever. Yeah,
seriously, and you was just happy. We was just happy. We were just happy to just all be in cyberspace chilling, one big happy Black Planet family.
Yeah, true. Okay, thank you so much.
No worries.
All right, so we have another K name on the panel. We have the amazing R&B singer Kyle Shedrick, who is also spent a lot of time in South Carolina, as have I. You were not completely raised in South Carolina, but like half of your upbringing was in South Carolina, right?
Well, I was born up here, like in Buffalo, but raised in South Carolina.
Okay. And then you went to Benedict College. You sang in the choir.
I did.
And then you came up here to like blow everybody away with your voice.
Yep, I did.
You better be confident.
Just trying to be like Dale.
Yeah. Oh. Excuse me. Okay. So you're a solo artist.
Yes.
And you also have a band. So can you tell us a little bit about your solo projects and also the duo you're a part of?
Oh, yeah, sure. So the solo project is just, me. I've been I guess doing this for almost 10 years here, I think in New York, and so it's been an amazing experience, coming from where we're from. It's a stark difference, and so I'm thankful that people receive the music, they connect with it, and most recently, maybe a year ago, a friend of mine, we started this eclectic duo called Liberation Era, and so we have been pushing that for the last year or so, just performing around the city, getting people familiar, and working on the project. Hopefully, it'll be out in 2019.
Oh,
Awesome. Cool. And you have a show coming up with another singer, not Liberation Era.
Absolutely. I do have another show. Well, I do have a show coming up, and it's just me, and I'm doing an opening set for a super dynamic artist. Her name is Liz Weiss.
That's my homie. I'm sorry.
And
I'm so excited.
Kindle's
So
homie.
awesome. Yeah, I know. I love her.
all the degrees of connection.
Yeah.
And it'll be at the Apollo on December 14th at 10 o'clock. You can go online to the Apollo Theater's website. Tickets are there. And it'll be a great night.
Awesome. We're looking forward to it. Anything else? Any way we can keep up with you? How can we stalk you online
Yes.
or otherwise?
Much like Kendall, I'm trying to figure out, the social media too. I know
It's real though.
It can be daunting
It's
and
serious.
and anxiety inducing.
Yeah.
But on Instagram, Twitter, it's KShed, the number 4 ever. Website, KyleShedrick.com. And I feel like that's about it. And music everywhere online that's legal to stream.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for being here, guys.
Hey, it's a pleasure. It is a pleasure.
Now, I'm going to introduce
Oh no!
this
here it
wonderful
comes.
human being. He has a glitter in his eye.
I see it.
And that comes from his world travels. He's done 13 international tours as a hip-hop artist and educator. He's a program manager for arts and social justice programs at the Brooklyn Academy of Music.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
He has been a solo artist in New York for the last 20 years.
Oh my God, Jesus! I'm old. It makes me
Yeah.
really old. I'm old.
And
You gotta
he's
show the
been
receipts
in
out there.
several critically acclaimed groups, including Third Party. And he is what I call the underground hip-hop godfather. Welcome to the panel. The love of my life. My future baby daddy,
Hey.
McCallum.
That is true.
Yeah, that's a standing
powerful.
ovation. We stand. That's fantastic.
So y'all are
better
just
than
y'all are just
AKAs.
coming to the show. So understand this is a thing. I get the most amazing, illustrious intros. One of these days we're gonna switch this, and I'm gonna do your intro.
You can intro me now
I need
because
to-
I just did a very quick intro of myself, and then after this, we're gonna go into
Okay.
a video of you.
Oh, okay. So
So-
real quick, before I kind of do my thing, the founder and the
Okay.
host of this show, the Dundada of all things soul and R&B.
Oh, I
She is
love
an event
that.
producer, a music producer, singer, poet. For over 5 years in more than 2 states, has produced numerous events. On top of being a top-line educator for Community Ward Project and the Dream Yard Project, one half of the dynamic duo known as Where the Love Is, who has toured Europe last year,
Well, all
um,
right.
and the love of my life and the mother of my future children,
Yes.
the host of the most amazing poetry podcast, Miss Dale Novella.
Hey.
Hey, how you
Hey.
doing?
These
you
are
go.
introductions.
All right.
That's fantastic.
All right. So what's up, y'all? How you doing? Thank you guys for coming in.
Good. Thank
Shouts out
you.
to Baxter. He is chilling in Jamaica. Hate
Yes.
you, love you.
Right.
Hate you, love you.
Mostly hate right now.
Mostly hate right now. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
today.
Because it's
Yeah.
raining and it's cold, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Thanks,
yeah.
Bax.
Yeah. What do
but-
you have going on?
It's funny. There's been I don't want to, and it's funny. It's funny because Meghan McCain actually inspired me, and I was thinking about this all week. I don't want to put a downer on people, but in light of a lot of things going on with the winter, and I know I deal with seasonal depression, and I just wanted to keep it a buck today and just say I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm not ready to jump off a roof.
Yeah.
But I'll be honest with you, I've been
Yeah.
feeling it with the cold and
get
a
it.
lot of things going on. But what I do have going on that I feel really positive about and blessed about is working on a project with Willie Green for the past 7-8 months. It's funny y'all talking about the internet because the project I'm doing, actually, the focus is literally about how the digital world is affecting our humanity. Mm-hmm. I'm a little bit of a black nerd, so a lot of the stuff that I do is really kind of like a little heady. So Willie's bringing a little bit of music to what I want to talk about and speak about. But working on that, pick that back up. But yeah, I'll be honest with you. It's kind of been tough the last couple of months. It's been tough the last couple of months. Not really doing any performing, but we're going to be doing some performing at Restoration Plaza third week in January.
Awesome.
Nice.
At a really amazing event.
So you didn't say how Meghan McCain like inspired that. You
Oh.
just said
Oh,
Meghan
yeah.
McCain
You're right.
inspired me, but-
Yeah, let me explain why a white woman inspired me. That's a little
A
wild.
white
That's a little
conservative
crazy.
woman.
So in our home life, Dale watches The View religiously, and it was interesting because, you know, it's weird for me to say this, but like Meghan McCain on this show keeps it a buck like all the time. So we were watching one of the shows, and she was really talking about, they were talking about Thanksgiving. So everybody, you know, what's her name? Joy Behar? Is it Joy?
Joy Behar.
Joy Behar and Whoopi, and they're all talking about being thankful. And she was like, you know, the holidays aren't always a joyous time for everyone. And I know she kind of is still dealing with the loss of her father.
Yeah.
But it was dope to hear her say, like, you know, let's acknowledge those that are just not necessarily having the best time,
Right.
you know, during the
Yeah.
holidays. We've
Yeah.
lost family. I lost my mom 2 years ago, close around this time. So I was actually impressed that she, on a national publication, was like, you know, again, she's like, I'm not trying to, you know, kill anybody's love and joy, but like, let's acknowledge that the world isn't just like, hey, we have food and we have family and we have a home and it's warm. A lot of people around this time of year don't, you know, and it's good to give them space and give them room and just acknowledge that. So that I realized, like, being real about it. I know we go around the table and we kind of like, hey, we doing this dope stuff, we great, and black people, but I also wanted to acknowledge, in light of a lot of things going on with not just me, but other people I know, that I wanted to be real about where I'm at. Like, I'm blessed. I have you and I have Solomon. We're going to do a
Solomon
bunch of
is
dope
our
stuff.
cat.
Solomon's our cat.
He's fluffy.
Yeah, we're test driving the baby thing. We're starting with the cat. We're gonna elevate.
Go.
We're gonna elevate. We're doing good with the cat. He's
I'm so
alive.
excited.
He's alive.
He's
yeah.
alive.
He's fat.
He's fat. He's happy. He's fed. You know, diapers ain't
He's
coming for us.
thriving.
We're
He's
good.
thriving.
Right, he's
Yeah.
thriving. But I wanted to be honest about you know, just the reality.
It's important.
So, yeah.
I'm glad that you said that. Like, that even just blessed me, because so many people have those spaces, right, where you're just told that, you know, it's a good day, like everything's great, like what The View is saying, until Meghan gave her opinion. I think that's a very real opinion.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
thanks for
Well,
that.
we're going to get into some of the realness in Mikhail's freestyle with this next video. It's called Mic Check.
Cool.
1 2 1 2 1 2 2 2 2 2 2 yo 1 2 2 2 2 2 Speaking in tongues of the weak and the lungs. Use my chi when I see I become a be the microphone infinite design. I rhyme off the top of the mind. So the flag I'm off the top of the cliff. When I rock the beat, you know always got the gift. I never stand and drift inside the ocean. The motion I keep your hands bobbing and moving. There's no commotion, I'm too smooth, just like the group you're listening to. Live and direct, I'm coming through Brooklyn, live and direct for you. The band is unnamed, the style is untamed. It's raw, original, yo, we're off the rhythm brain. Like I said before, this is live and direct. Everybody knows I'm in the center of the skull, but this is not Fuji's or Bras or Lauryn Hill. It's just Mikhail and me rocking the mic with real skill. I'm too ill. I'm keeping it 93. I'm gonna shine like I'm Snoop Dogg's grill. Ill. I'm really MCing, and this is what I do. I'm hotter than the Caribbean, cause you see me in the light. You see me with a mic. You see it's sort of like my shirt and pants, I'm kinda tight. I listen up here to rip it up again, cause I'm chilling with the unnamed band. They all my friends. You love the music. Pretty soon in an hour you're gonna hear Jay Dubrick. She's dope with the guitar. I got soul just like a sitar. I spit balls on this board. So word is born, I can do it all day. Yo, my style is so much like filet mignon. When I get rockin' to the beat, word is born, I can go on and on. I even kick a song.
hear it in the crowd. Just one time for me, street loud. Okay, yo, did you feel it in the bar? That's true. Once again, understand, you know this be the truth. The whole movie televised just for you. It's too easy. I approach, cause I am dope, first class, and never coach you getting stuck just like a roach. Hold up, I never miss the boat. This is what I do from the throat, that's the shot from the microphone, be venom of the opera. And this is when I rock on the microphone, you can stop the MC in the place to be, let me spill it up, let's see, M-I-K-L, I mean. Anyway, I do it all day, cause I'm rocking on the MIC, just like Sway, and he had the answers. I'm tired of these jazz hand fools like JoJo dancing samples on your television talking about slavery was just without permission, or it was a decision. That's some bullshit. Lies from the pulpit, don't even have to say his name. Understand he's jumping into change, let me explain. How could people understand that they want to struggle and have pain for like 150 years or more? You're dumb. Word is woke. I'm loving my man snatched up on the drums. I'm entering with the bass to give him soul. And when I spit another poem, I got the keys with the jazz and the soul of Simone. So word is bold, I gotta say, and this is what we do all day. And if you're loving what you're hearing on the mic tonight, if you're loving with the rhyme and you're feeling the light, if you're feeling with the rhyme and you're loving your life, say hell yeah! Say hell yeah!
That was Mikal and me with a freestyle that I just decided was called Mic Check. If you want to hear any of these songs, they're on our playlist on our YouTube page. You just search for The REC Life and you will find it. And what I was thinking of when I was listening to this song and reflecting on some of the conversations me and Mikal have at home, and also the next video, which is from Jade Sabrick, is our responsibility as citizens, as performers. A lot of people complain when performers talk about social issues, when they get too involved with politics. But do we have a responsibility to our listeners or even to our fellow performers at all for anything, to take a stance, to entertain? Like, what are our responsibilities? And Kendallin, I know you're not really an entertainer, but you are a teacher, and that is somewhat of an entertainer.
Yeah.
So, what do y'all think? Do you feel any responsibility to the audience, to your audience?
Yes. I always feel a responsibility to whomever I'm in front of. And when it comes to what you're saying about like putting politics in whatever your art form is, you don't have to. No one has to, right? But it's kind of like what do you want to feed people, right? Because you can feed people, we eat anything. We eat McDonald's. Everybody eats McDonald's. But it's like, do you want to feed people McDonald's or do you want to feed people Ruth Chris? You know what I mean? Or like just raw vegetables, whatever's healthy. You know what I mean? So I feel like what do you want to feed your audience? And that's where it comes from. So to me, like, I always want to be some type of light, positivity. I want to feed people good things. I want to talk about what's bothering people or what's hurting people in effort to make a difference, but nobody has to. So it's like, you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Like, you don't have to, but I'm not saying that's the right way to go too. You have to go with your convictions, but no, you don't have to. But I feel like it's that much more, you're that much more of a blessing if you do. talk about the things that affect people, like talk about things outside of your experience, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
A little rambling. I don't know if that made sense, but yeah.
Oh, it made perfect
It made
sense.
sense.
Okay.
Perfect sense.
Yeah.
All I'm just going to add is I agree with everything 100% what you said. And just as an artist, I feel like I'm in the tradition of people that came before me. Everybody from Public Enemy to Marvin Gaye to Langston Hughes. I feel like the African American music tradition has always been, and the African American artist tradition has always had a strong sense of reality that our art and our culture has been more than just to entertain, but it's been to inform. It's been to speak truth to power. So I know that I've taken that responsibility, and I absolutely agree. Like, you have to speak to your convictions. So, you don't have to do that, and it's not wrong necessarily if you don't do that. But it's very obvious that in our history, that has been the way that we've been able to help ourselves overcome, persevere, bring truth to power. So I feel for my music and my artistic creation, I want to be in league and in line with that tradition. So it's been a conscious choice, and it always be, because I feel like that's really what we as African Americans and the art that we've created in this continent has been expressively been for.
Absolutely. Same here. And I think about like Nina Simone's quote, well, to paraphrase, he was basically said the whole responsibility or duty of an artist is to reflect the times. And so I think, even though it's up for debate whether or not one should, I do think it's important for folks, not just artists, but people who have a particular platform or influence or the ability to have a group of people at one point in time together. I think it's necessary to talk about things that are happening that affect our lives, that affect generations to come. I think it's a bit of a responsibility thing. I do.
Oh, I know what quote you're talking about. I know exactly what you're talking about. I remember the clip. Yeah.
Now, outside of performing, do you feel like you have a responsibility in your own personal life outside of the arts?
Oh, yeah.
To the people around you.
I mean, that's why I chose to be an educator. And I'm basically a second gen. I mean,
Yes. Yeah.
You know, my father was a high school teacher in Newark, New Jersey, where he grew up and lived for about 35 years. So, and I purposely and intentionally followed his footsteps from the standpoint of he never wanted to teach anywhere but Newark, New Jersey. He only wanted to teach young black children because of the deficits that they face. Not because they have a deficit, but because of the system that's against them. So he wanted to bring his love, his attention, his expertise to his people. So I learned that from him. So it was only natural that once I became an adult, and I started to find my way. You know, it was funny. We always used to talk. I used to be like, Dad, I'm going to be a rapper, and I don't know if I'm going to teach. But I don't know if it's in the DNA, but I picked up his love of young people, of children. And I knew I didn't want to necessarily be in a brick and mortar school, but I knew that I needed to work with young people. And absolutely, I was just having this conversation with somebody at BAM and just saying how, especially as black people, I feel personally, we have a duty and a responsibility for those of us that have some access, some platform, knowledge, information, whatever. We can't keep that to ourselves. We have to figure out ways to bring it to generations behind us. We have to figure out ways to align it with the generations before us. Wherever you're at in the spectrum, I feel like you have to be that bridge between the past and the future. So for me, it was a totally conscious decision in my personal life to do whatever I can to help anyone that's coming, up after me. So absolutely. I don't think that we, in my personal opinion, my humble opinion, everybody doesn't have to be the same way, but I feel like we don't have that choice. I think we have to do that collectively, all of us.
Do you think that America as a society, our society promotes that?
Absolutely
Just responsibility to each other?
No.
Yeah, not wholeheartedly. I'm just thinking about it. I don't necessarily have a comment following, but no, and I think that's something too, as far as what your dad was saying, I can completely, that's how I feel about Harlem. That's how I feel about us. That's how I feel about people of color. That's how I feel about voting, honestly. We don't have a choice. I think about my grandparents, and I want them, just anything. The things that our ancestors went through, fought for, went through circumstances I'll never be able to understand because of the way that they paid for me. I feel like we owe it to them. So like what you said, in our personal lives, we owe it to us, to the people that came before us, to continue on in this legacy in oral tradition and using our platform for good, even in our personal lives, you know, so, yeah.
Yeah. Would any of y'all ever do something like what Chrisette Michele did a couple years ago, where she performed at Trump's inauguration, even though she said she did not vote for him, she does not support him, but she felt like it was an olive branch bridging two worlds?
No.
I wish people could see. I wish people could see faces. Everybody like
that's going to be a no for me.
That's a negatory.
And I've thought about it. I've gotten into conversations. I have literally thought about it, and I came up with my own decision. No, and the main reason is because of the history of shucking and jiving.
Yeah,
that's why and so many things have affected people I love, people of color, period, from the person in power currently. So I just feel so convicted not to on so many levels. A conversation's different, though. I'm not going to lie. Like, if coffee, maybe. One-on-one, sure. Because I want to know, like, why are you thinking the way you do? And I believe I'm light, right? So I believe that we can have a conversation. But to entertain and, you know,
to help your platform, to align with that.
No, a hard fast no. Yeah. I thought about it. I've had many conversations. So I was like ready. I was ready when you asked that question, girl. I was ready. 'Cause I had that answer for a while.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to hear a little bit about that from Jade Zabrick and our responsibility to each other with Womb to Tomb.
of unremitting light is all I need to tie whatever it is white men deem pensive of black male flesh to a helium balloon. Upswept by the searing winds of memory for ground level, particularly between black men and open earth, is surely ablaze. I'm talking about flames of this pale indigenous patriarch, unfurled into the blue-black wretchedness of nostalgia, and still, my world as will, representation contained by the refusal of such brutish remembrance. Remember, my body was taken, thrown back in ludicrous light. Remember essence, declaring I'm eager to burn this threadbare masculinity, this perpetual black suit I've outgrown. Lion-eyed, I leap to agree. I grab my crotch in broken rhythm, fearful, suspect, pissing upon hard, slow earth. Contradiction, falsehood, taught to fear my own freedom, that the pain and only the pain is mine. But what if, putting my dick back inside my pants, I begin my own ritual of healing, self-recovery, starting at an altar consisting of nothing more than soil, blackened stone, the bartering of blood for veering sluice, menstrual rivers of spitfire aside, dare I honor the blackest of mother. Let predatory reason give way. Phallic now pray. Sister, brother, outsider, inside, flux of hidden symbols, a father's bewildering conceit, prostrate at mother's feet, akin to a Mary, when he declared the God I pray to got black boobies, chocolate milk of sustenance, heals and nourishes, sunken hard body of organs, yet lungs harbor the masculine ethos of a Christian household. Gnostic remnants of she, shudder the throat, yes she, the great mother, sacrificial breath, her kith and kin. Untold names upon pronouncement fold the corners of my mouth into heart-shaped suns, unburdens the tongue. Myriad names of she, part and parcel, the temple of my familiar. Hooks, Lord, Jordan, Teresa, Ansantiwa, Hatshepsut, Nefertari, Nefertiti, Cleopatra, and Zinga, Giovanni, Sanchez, Cosby, Scott King, Halliday, Hyman, Wheatley, Brooks, Carroll, Angelou, Cash, Badu, Scott, Franklin, Simone, Moore, Davis, James Vaughn, Fitzgerald, Wilson, Bassett, Washington, Baker, Carter, Walker, McKeeba, Leary, Cresswellson, Latifah, Zul Latifah, Dandridge, Zil Hurston, Oshun, Yemiyanef, Hatch, Queen T, Kylie Shabazz, those four little girls, Quasi, Lori Parks, Hill, Berry, C.J. Walker, Tubman, the Black Madonna, D, Mary Magdalene, Shakur, Osset, Hathor, the mother of Malcolm, the mother of Martin, the mother of Marcus. The boys, Tuma, Douglas, all the mammies, all the Aunt Jemimas who will clearly never be seen, yet continue to bid us our daily bake. It is only a matter of time now before you are timeless, hence the reason I came. Life is a bitch only to those who fail to call her by her God-given name. Holy shit, the Holy Ghost has just been set aflame.
Okay.
So that was John Gavin White with his, I called it an ode to black women. I apologize, I do not know the actual name of the poem. But one thing it brought to mind, because it is a beautiful poem and it's praising black people, and we had a conversation the other day about seeing black art and appreciating it, but maybe not agreeing with everything in the art. And when and where is it appropriate to critique it? And I'm one of those people where, like, you don't have family fights in front of people who aren't in the family. That concept. But some people don't feel that way. Are we at a point as minorities where we can have minority arguments in front of white people?
No. Nope.
Okay, see, I'm about to lose my friend Pass on the panel about now. So Wesley Morris in the New York Times did an article talking about this, and unfortunately, he needed a better editor, so some of the points he got lost. My whole stance is this: I appreciate and feel and understand and hear and know that we don't necessarily want to look divided in front of the quote unquote enemy, and we also understand that we don't necessarily have all of the means to actually produce our own work on a mass scale. Like that's change is way better than it was 2 generations before. But we still aren't necessarily like completely in control of those things. But with all of that said, from a political standpoint, my political stance is this. I'm essentially philosophically, I believe I'm an abolitionist. So I'm not really interested in necessarily like kowtowing to the establishment. I'm more interested in dismantling those things, or more importantly, forget even taking the work of dismantling. What can we do to start building our own thing and building it separate, independent of that? Because we were doing that work until essentially people got assassinated and killed. With all of that said, I'm going to say this. I'm a believer in art and the craft. So as a writer who's trained in literature and who's an MC, who's trained in hip hop, I'm always looking for what is the level of craft that you're bringing. Yeah. So from that standpoint, I feel that it's necessary to look at movies, film, TV, music, and give respect to the form itself and speak to that. Now, from a political standpoint, I understand why that can be dangerous in those times, but I worry about watering down and diluting the craft of the work simply for a political idea of like, well, we black people, we need to make sure everybody's going. Like, I want to see black people win all day, every day, all the time. I always want black people to win. But I also realize, too, in a commercial market, there's many black voices that don't get heard and don't get seen because there is essentially mediocre art that basically gets a pass because, well, it fits the quota. It's the checkpoint. You're black, you're brown, we got it, we in. I work for an institution that essentially is doing things like that. Shouts out to BAM. So, you know, I'm mixed on it, but I want to go back to the craft because I believe in our humanity, and I believe that because of our humanity that we want to do excellence, and excellence not from a commercial standpoint. So I feel that the critique needs to be kind of separated from this political idea of, you know what, black people are a, you know, they're a quote unquote a protected group, or brown people or people of color are a protected group. So we can just do mediocre things because we don't necessarily have a platform or a place, and we just need to actually be in the place. I'm more like, screw the house, burn it down, or leave it, go build another one. That's where I'm at.
But how is that demanding good black art or good art from minorities? Where do you demand it?
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
Anytime, everywhere. Okay. And here's the thing.
But you don't think that
I think there's so much of it out there that actually when I'm making that comment, I'm not saying, I'm more like, we can take this black person out and there's a doper black person here. That's where my mind is thinking. I think when people think like you're critiquing black art, like suddenly like that black, if we don't have that black person there's no one to put in their place. I'm looking at it like, no, there's probably someone who's better at it. There's a reason why that person is picked inside said system. I'm not interested in just being like rah-rah on the person that they chose, because my mind, I'm crazy. My mind looks at it like this. When a white institution or a white industry is like able to, willing and wanting to, supporting a black voice, I become very critical of said black voice. I'm like, why are they comfortable with you? Why are they willing to pump millions of dollars into you? What is that? Going to your analogy about McDonald's, why are you putting so much energy into this particular food that might not be the healthiest? So we got a McDonald's on every block or a Starbucks in every neighborhood. Why are we putting so much money into that? I'm more curious of that because I know that there's amazing, talented, beautiful, awesome, outstanding, excellent black artists that are speaking truth to power, that are doing things on a dope level, innovating, doing amazing, powerful things that are not promoting, not being heard, not being seen, not being fed. So when I look at the people that they put in front of them, I'm more skeptical of them. Like, why are they good with you? Because it's not black people that's putting them in that place. It's white people most of the time. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. Point. And I know like I'm usually the I'm the one that's like not the most popular about that in the room, but I'm thinking of going back to, you know, Langston Hughes' house. Langston Hughes, James Baldwin, Nina Simone, just a myriad of different voices and artists that are brilliant. And the most brilliant of us oftentimes are the ones that are the most silenced and the most put aside.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So when I think of the most popular of us, I have to be actually critical of them and go like, why are you popular? What is the reason for you being popular? And we want to see ourselves. We want to see ourselves on the biggest stages, in the brightest lights. We should be. We deserve that. But I think that we have to get to a level deeper and be more critical. Like, well, why are they there? Not saying that they shouldn't be there.
No, right.
But that's I think as an artist, I think it's our duty and our responsibility to be honest and earnest in that craft, and not just simply say like, well, you black, so you good. It's like, nah, because there's a lot of black people that are amazing
with talent,
and they're not getting seen, heard, or fed. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying like, well, if I don't know, if Dave Chappelle ain't there, then we can't have a black person. Like, no, there's probably a more talented black dude.
I think sometimes like larger or production houses or the powers that be will see, oh, black people are critiquing this person. They don't like him because we're seen as a monolith. No matter how much art comes out that shows us as being different and having different cultures within Black America, studio heads are still going to be like, well, if one person doesn't like this thing, then no black people like this thing. So that it does end up being that. If Dave Chappelle doesn't have a sketch comedy show on Comedy Central, then no black people have sketch comedy shows on Comedy Central. If for whatever reason HBO gets rid of Insecure, then there isn't going to be a replacement. It's just not going to be something like, look how long it took for something like that to come into fruition after Girlfriends went off air, which was produced by a white man, a misogynist white man. So I mean, I think we're still at that place where we can't really critique ourselves because we will be taking away all the opportunities. Unless, I mean, it's unfortunately, I don't think we're at a place where we can, where everyone really believes that we can have something on our own and it be successful.
Well, the weird thing, the caveat I would say, the example of black women you brought up, I can't really speak to that because there's not really a history of black women losing a place and then getting that back. So I can't say that. But when you bring up Dave Chappelle, you have Key and Peele. So I think they're always.
But do they really make black art?
Yes,
I
absolutely,
mean, now,
absolutely,
like Peele,
absolutely. And what's the HBO show now?
Show.
Oh,
show
you know what I'm talking about?
Random acts of flyness.
Random acts of flyness. Listen, the industry is always going to find our faces.
Especially now because everybody wants diversity.
Exactly.
Everybody wants the brown shades, honey.
And we're still the coolest thing
ever.
Still.
And I apologize. I don't want to misquote stats, but our GDP, if we were a nation, something like 3.5 billion. So they're always going to find black people. That's not a thing. Once the 13th Amendment happened in the 60s, they were always going to find a black face or a brown face to put up because they knew it meant
blackface, but a blackface.
A blackface or a brown face.
Important. Right. That's our history.
But sometimes it is blackface. You know what I mean? Because it means dollars. So for me, I knew that, or when I study history, I go, they're never gonna not have us in some way, shape, or form out in front because they know that we as consumers in a capitalist structure are going to want to spend dollars on things that look like us. So they're never going to not have a black representation. And that's why it's like when we have these conversations like, oh, blackness. I'm like, cool, word. But what type of blackness? To your point, like we're not a monolith. Who is really about making sure that our totality of our humanity is represented and respected and appreciated? I'm more interested in those black voices than someone just to be like, hey, I made it. We out here. Because that's more individual. And when I think about our history and when I think about if we're going even further back to the continent, again, I said this conversation at BAM, it's like we have always been about the collective. We've always been about the we, not the I. The I is a very European capitalist idea. Indigenous peoples, black people, African people have always been about the collective, even before colonization, even before slavery. We've always been about the village. So I can't think in these modes of like, yo, if we got the superstar up top, they made it. That means I can make it if there's no connection to me. Mm-hmm. If it's just about
like
their
giving
wealth.
back, even.
Exactly, exactly. So from that standpoint, and again, because I don't necessarily, and I'm an independent artist, and I feel like I'm radical in spirit. So I'm not really interested in plugging into a mainstream system like that. I've been fortunate enough to have a career where I've been able to see the world without those things, and I feel blessed every day that I'm able to say and do those things. But yeah, because of that, I'm just sort of like, I'm not really caring if HBO or Disney or Def Jam, because they're ultimately not really trying to speak to all of us. They just want our dollars. And I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in finding wholesome, holistic, full range and a spectrum and the full array of blackness to be represented and seen, felt, heard, so that we can be fed properly. And I think that that's what's more important. And you do that as an artist by critiquing the craft and being true to the craft and being respectful of the craft.
What do y'all think?
Sorry.
We have, unfortunately, we only have about like 5 more minutes left to discuss.
No, I totally agree. I think it's important to always think about like the entity that's reaching out to these artists. Like, who are you? What is your overall agenda? What is your motive? A lot of the time, I mean, you see it all the time when I think about maybe like a news agency. I wouldn't necessarily always give a side eye when I see like hip hop artists or black people talking about music, because they always have a different agenda. It's never, for the most part, not really like the positive thing to do. But other entities that we're seeing lately, even, I don't want to shout other names out, but where they're cultivating certain artists who aren't normally getting that publicity, cultivating them and cultivating those particular audiences that appeal to a different group of people who've been marginalized or ostracized, for whatever the case may be, but they see the value in that, in people's humanity, and I think they see where the social consciousness of the country is moving, and they try to put some dollars behind that. So I think about those things too. But
I agree with you on craft. One of the things I don't know if I feel like we are at the place I was saying nope in the beginning, like where we can have those family discussions openly. But craft is really important. And I've had conversations lately where, artists have talked about, can we just get back to the craft? Can we just talk about the craft? Can we not have to talk about what it's like to be a brown person in this industry or whatever? Can we just talk about craft? So I feel like a lot of the discussions that I have just with people I know, right, that have their art or music or whatever out there, I want everything to be excellent. I feel I want every movie to be excellent. I want every song to be excellent. So I have those conversations with them in my immediate world, right? But I do feel that that's sad that I'm saying we can't have those conversations publicly. I do feel like at some point it has to be like, let us just be people. Let us just be human and have opinions. You know what I mean? So that's my 2 cents.
One day.
Yeah.
One day.
But we only have about 2 more minutes left, and I really want to get into the last video, which is from Jade Sabrick. Before we go, I hope everyone comes out to the Poet Will Be Televised 5-year anniversary on December 12th at 8 o'clock.
5 years.
And
At Sylvana's.
At Sylvana's in Harlem on 116th Street. And y'all stay blessed and stay black.
Right. I was hoping you were going to say that.
Yeah. just another
listening to Skies Crescent Radio, and here's what's coming up. On the first Sunday of the month,